Hey, good morning, y'all. Welcome to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Adam Keller, and this is Shop Talk, our Thursday morning episode we're producing every week with a focus on labor education, history, and training. It's Thursday, August 31st, and we're broadcasting live from Spice Radio Studio in the heart of the Tennessee Valley here in Huntsville, Alabama. Every episode is live streamed on YouTube and Facebook and is released on your favorite podcasting platform in the coming days. Today on the show, we're talking all about Central Labor Councils. And I'm really excited about this. We have Vonda McDaniel, president of the Nashville Labor Council, on this morning. So really looking forward to that interview. Longtime listener, longtime fan of the show, and actually a recurring guest, has been on the show before. So really excited about that. Before we get into it, though, I do want to take a moment to thank our first sponsor for Shop Talk. At the Valley Labor Report, we are big fans of Labor Notes. Labor Notes is a media and organizing project that since 1979 has been the voice of union activists who want to put the movement back in the labor movement. Through their magazine, website, books, conferences, and workshops, Labor Notes promotes organizing, aggressive strategies to fight concessions, alliances with worker centers, and unions that are run by their members. Labor Notes is also a network of rank-and-file members, local union leaders, and labor activists who know the labor movement is worth fighting for. They encourage connections between workers in different unions, worker centers, communities, industries, and countries to strengthen the movement from the bottom up. With 40 years of movement building behind them, Labor Notes exist as a resource for leaders and union members who want to chart a new course for the labor movement. At the Valley Labor Report, we are proud subscribers and supporters, and we encourage our listeners to do the same. Go to labornotes.org to find out more. So definitely do that. I'll tell you later in the episode about some really cool trainings that Labor Notes has later this month, in the month of September. So this is our last episode in August. Quick programming note. Typically, I start the month with This Month in Labor History. We will not be doing that next week. I'll have a different episode. Our Labor History Month, our September monthly episode will be on, I guess it's the 14th. It'll be week after next. So that's my quick programming note for everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Please do let me know if we're sounding good, if everything's coming through loud and clear. Longtime listeners know that Shop Talk is a solo project for me, so I'm in the studio by myself. You never know how things are going to go technology-wise, and Lord help me, I'm not a professional. But I do appreciate everyone tuning in this morning. All right, so with all that out of the way, I want to bring on my guest this morning. Really looking forward to speaking with her. As I mentioned, she's been on the show before, and she's not too far from my neck of the woods, right up I-65 in Nashville. So, Vonda, thank you so much for joining the show. Welcome.
Hello, Adam. Thank you for inviting me. Happy Labor Day weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a big holiday for us. Big holiday
Yes,
for
sir.
us. Do you
Yes,
have
sir.
do you have big plans?
Well, actually, yes, we have a whole lot of Labor Day activities happening this week. The Teamsters have a big picnic on Monday, and then the Labor Day event for the city is September the 9th.
Okay, cool. I figured you had something going on. I figured you'd be pretty busy.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, this is our 10th anniversary. We were really excited about it. It's strike summer, and so it's a great time to bring labor folks together for solidarity purposes, but also just so we can have a day to celebrate each other and the accomplishments of the year.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. Well, before we get into labor councils, I was wondering if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got involved in the labor movement.
Sure. Um, my name is Vonda McDaniel, as you mentioned. I've been in the labor movement for 32 years. I started as a um, quality inspector at Bridgestone Firestone. We were represented by the rubber workers at that time, but we merged with the steel workers in 1995. And what some people remember is the War of 94. It took us a couple of years to get a contract, but it has been a awesome journey. I have had the opportunity to participate in training other women activists to be union officers and activists and community activists. Um, had the chance to work with workers globally through a program that the steelworkers have called Workers United, where we were linked with workers that work for the same multinational companies that we worked,
Oh, that's
and
really cool.
we were able to work and build solidarity. And my journey has led to me sitting with the other vice presidents of the AFL-CIO, representing labor councils. This is the beginning of my second term, where we're a year into it. And so the labor movement has really changed my life. My mother was an educator, but I didn't realize she was in a union really. Um, but I've had great training, great mentors, and it's been an incredible journey.
And so you said this is the second term at the council. So when did you become president of the National Labor Council there?
No, the Nashville Labor Council, I was elected in 2014.
Oh, okay, great.
And so, yeah, I'm going into, I don't know, I can't count how many terms because they're 2-year terms. But as a result of our work in Middle Tennessee with the Labor Council, I was elected to the Executive Council, which is the governing body of all unions in America. Um, I guess that was 2017, maybe. Yep, that's right, 2017. So,
Wow.
yep.
Well, yeah, I knew you've been involved, for quite some time and have really just done a lot from the Nashville area. And so really appreciate all your dedication. I mean, and I appreciate your eagerness to train and to pass along your knowledge. I think that is such a important part of leadership that often we don't think about, but a big part of being a leader is building new leaders, right? The folks who are going to come after you, the folks you can pass the torch to, the folks that you can share wisdom and knowledge and training and expertise with. And so that's just really cool, and I really applaud you for that.
Oh, I mean, it's always a group effort. I don't believe in movements that have one person. We have a lot of energetic, wonderful organizers in Middle Tennessee and in Tennessee across the state, actually. And I am at this point, I told you I had 32 years, so I'm trying to work myself out of a job.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, it sounds like y'all are doing a great job, really, building your bench and replenishing your leaders. Such an important thing, especially as you mentioned, at the beginning. This is an exciting time for labor. It's an exciting time for labor in the South. For so many years, people have written off the South, but we're seeing a lot of union activity down here. We're seeing a lot of movement growth and young people getting involved and inspired. And so, I think it is an exciting time and definitely a great time to be creating new leaders and training folks. And which leads us into today's topic, which is labor councils. Before we explain why it's so important, and it is so important, talk to us about what is a labor council.
Oh, sure. So, a labor council is a federation, a federated body of all the unions in the area. And the purpose, the goal of labor councils is to move people outside of their trade, narrow trade divisions, into a broader collective. Where we work for social justice, we support contract campaigns, we work on affordable housing here. We are out in the community recruiting for um, our apprenticeship programs. So we have a apprenticeship readiness program. So there are a variety of roles that central labor councils play, but its most important role is to bring together all union folks under an umbrella of solidarity and of work. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so big because like you said, getting kind of outside of your own trade, because it's really easy to get just sucked into what's happening in your workplace, right? And just think about what's happening with your employer and your contracts and the issues that you and your members are directly dealing with every day. Uh, and the beauty of the Labor Council is that you get to talk with union folks from across your area. These are your neighbors, and hear what's going on with their contracts and with their employers and with their members. And you can find opportunities to collaborate and lift each other up. And you mentioned a few examples of some of the things that y'all do. And I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about, you know, what are some of the activities, for example, that y'all have done in Nashville as a labor council?
So our labor council is designed to elevate the um, role in the community of unions and the profile. And
Mm.
we've been working on that for several years. I became the president in 2014, but before that, I was the secretary of the Labor Council. And so we are very active in local campaigns, mayor, city council, school board. Um, we have a pretty large jurisdiction. It goes all the way to the Alabama line, quite honestly, in that direction. But it also goes to the mountain, going toward Chattanooga, the Tennessee River, going toward Memphis, and Cookville, going toward Knoxville. And so sometimes, we pay a lot of attention to what is happening in Nashville, but we are really making an effort trying to build the capacity to have organizers that work in those rural counties as
Right.
well to knit together, uh, uh, more solidarity and understanding among not just union members, but workers particularly.
Yeah, there was a few things that stood out there, what you just said, and one of them being the urban rural divide that sometimes we run into as working folks, and because we experience things differently. Housing in Nashville is a different kind of issue than maybe in a rural area, and so um, I think that is really a key thing with the councils and bringing people together and having that collaboration and hearing what's working, what's not working, what are the issues that are maybe different between rural and urban areas, but bridging that divide and getting folks talking and working together, that's huge. um, and you also talked about building a political voice, and I think that's where our labor councils are uniquely positioned to really build the voice of labor from the local level up, and to have that voice in local politics. And you mentioned school board elections, city council. These kind of folks have a big impact on working people across our community. um, they directly employ folks, but
Yeah.
indirectly through the policies and laws and ordinances and everything else that they do, they have a big impact on us. And so I think that's really exciting to hear that we have labor councils such as y'all's that are really getting active at the local level. And I think that's something that we would like to do more of here in North Alabama. Um, we are still a pretty new labor council. We just rechartered a few years ago, and we still need quite a few local unions to join in. And I'm going to ask you about that here in a second because I definitely want your advice on that. Um, so yeah, we're still pretty new. We're still finding our bearings, but that is one of our goals is to elevate labor's image and power and strength in the community.
Can I
And
say this,
that's
Adam?
huge. Yeah.
Um, people, when they think of unions and labor, I think the first thing that they go to is, like what happens in Washington and international presidents and that kind of thing. But actually, the labor movement was constituted by labor councils in the 1800s. Our labor council here in Nashville was chartered in 1957. But labor councils, you saw a proliferation of labor councils chartered in the 30s and 40s. And in the South, we are really trying to reestablish the energy that labor councils have consistently held throughout the ages. Um, and the top was built because there were strong um, working families and union members on the ground.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, folks make that mistake in politics all the time to just think about what's happening in DC when there's so much happening in your own neighborhood, your own community, and you can make more of an impact there, frankly. A
Frank,
labor council can really make an impact on a school board election at the local level. Can your labor council determine who's going to be president of the United States? Probably not, right? But we can make a difference on who's going to be in a city council position. And maybe you can talk to us a little bit about this. But there are a lot of issues that affect workers at the local level that our labor councils can organize around. And one example I've heard is local hire ordinances, and ensuring that when the public is spending public dollars, it's local workers that are benefiting from that job creation. I don't know if you have any other examples or anything else you wanted to talk about on that, but I'm sure there are plenty of ideas that y'all have for your local government that you wish they would adopt.
Definitely. We have passed local hire. Matter of fact, we had a ballot initiative, passed it in Nashville overwhelmingly. It got more votes than the mayor in that election.
Wow.
But we were preempted by our state government. We continue to like all the tools in the toolbox. We've got inclusionary zoning that we work to pass. We also passed. We try to do uh, quite a bit around what you talked about, and that is making sure that federally registered apprenticeship programs were utilized on projects where tax dollars were used. We have been able to get a few private agreements. We got a community benefits agreement on the MLS soccer stadium that had a minimum floor of 1850 in terms of the wages that it would pay on the job, that it would give points to um, federally registered apprenticeship utilization, that there was housing set aside for that was more affordable, that they had child care provisions. So there are lots of things that communities with labor being a part of the drafting of concerns and demands that in private development you can win.
Yeah, that is really cool. Really cool. We've talked with Jobs to Move America about community benefits
Yes.
agreements and some of the work
I
they've been
saw that a
doing.
few weeks ago. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are really exciting, and I think it's an opportunity for, like you said, to strengthen that labor community coalition and really show where labor is trying to uplift the entire community. And not, I mean, not just our own members, which of course we're doing, but everyone benefits from the policies that we're advocating. Everyone benefits when working people are treated better and paid better and trained better. And so, yeah, that community benefits agreement, that's huge. I think that is the kind of thing that our labor councils can be doing across the South and need to be doing across the South because uh, something you mentioned about preemption, is an issue that we've dealt with here in Alabama as well. Birmingham raised the minimum wage, and we had raised the wage movements in city after city. That was some of my earliest organizing was around that, and just like in Tennessee, the state legislature intervened to stop Birmingham from raising their wage and to stop other cities from following suit. Um, and we saw a similar move when it comes to removing Confederate monuments and things of that nature. And so that's definitely a battle and a struggle that we're dealing with here in the South that a lot of folks maybe in other areas aren't familiar with, where we can push at the local level and then deal with opposition from our state capitals. So that's a whole new dynamic, that or a whole nother dynamic that we're dealing with. Um, and something else that I think that is really important about what you said is the energy that labor councils bring. Just just the very concept of bringing people from different unions in the same room and bringing minds together and ideas together and sharing stories and sharing struggles, it does bring that energy. And I think that's huge, especially here in the South where, we deal with such opposition to unions from state government.
Definitely. A few years ago, under that other president, there was a lockout of federal employees, and the whole labor movement here mobilized around those workers and set up informational pickets where the workers themselves could not engage because of the hatchet in those kinds of activities. And so the labor movement was able to have the solidarity what was going on with those workers being locked out for an extended period of time, and even it went beyond like the unions that were locked out, to the contractors that were locked out that were non-union. We were fighting for them all. So we had press conferences, we had informational pickets, we had set up food banks, and the United Way worked with us to make sure that there was no um, challenges in terms of them being able to feed their families was really like an example of how the union movement at every level can come around to support workers outside of their craft and really have an impact. And I think that even the union members themselves that participated in those efforts just learned a lot about what it meant to be union, right? Not what it meant to be a steel worker or what it meant, but what it meant to be union. And
Yeah,
so those are the kinds of things that the SAG after strike. Um, you've seen with the writer's strike and the SAG after strike, because those there tend to be like high visibility. um, you know, people don't really realize that unless you are a marquee star and get unless you are the lead, how many people it takes to support that one person, and how they are the ones that, um, they may work their um, jobs may be precarious. They may work 3 months and then may not work again for six. And the union provides stability, it provides benefits, it provides the kinds of things that in that industry you could not expect otherwise. So,
right.
yeah, we learn a lot about each other the more we struggle together.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And something that really resonates with me is that, you know, labor councils allow you to support each other when you really need that support. And maybe there's a situation where, like you said, like legally, you're prohibited from doing something. Or maybe you just don't have the organizational capacity. You know, maybe you really need a picket line, but you don't really have enough folks to have a great picket line.
That's
You
right.
know, and so an example here in North Alabama was, I know the stagehands, you know, a few years ago there was some safety issues, and the council met with a city councilman about it,
Hmm.
right? And it added like a level of seriousness to it, I think, coming from the council as opposed to just the stagehands. You know, it let them know, okay, these folks have support, and that's
Right.
huge. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, what a labor council is, what they do, why they exist, and you've shared some of the great work that y'all are doing up in Nashville. I'm curious, do you have some ideas of things that you would like to do that you haven't done yet? Or have you run across any cool ideas across the country that other labor councils are trying?
Oh, definitely, definitely. So, we are in a moment where I think 80% of young people that had the opportunity, the poll came out, they would join a union. And that's great news, but
Mm,
we need to figure out a way to be able to quickly take advantage of the enthusiasm around unions. And
right,
so I'm hoping that labor councils can play a larger role in organizing efforts, at least the basic seeding of organizing campaigns and support. Often international unions, they don't have the capacity, quite frankly, to everywhere they want a union to send, a organizer or two or three to help them establish their committees and do that. But
right,
the labor councils have local relationships that can help to support workers in their efforts to join together to form a union. And so I think that that is a role that traditionally, maybe labor councils have only played a role at the end of the campaign when they're trying to bring it home. But I do think, and we are seeing across the country, that labor councils and even state federations are equipped to really support and add value to overall organizing efforts. And this is a moment we cannot let this window close.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think it is exciting, and it's a good problem to have when we have more interest than capacity right now. That's a good problem to have that we haven't always had, but it is still a problem that we have to address. And I think you're right. The labor councils can play a role, because as you said, the local relationships there, um, being able to have mentors just in your community who have some common context and common references, like that's huge. And I think that's something that, all of us can do in our councils is try to be supportive of this moment. And because there are workers all over the country right now who are on Google asking, how do I start a union? How do I join a union? Where do I find a union? Right. And that's, like you said, that's an opportunity for our councils to kind of be there as like a landing spot for folks as they're first getting on this journey. Like, we can help connect them to the right people, connect them to the right institutions, give them some, access to the trainings that they might need. So there's a lot we could be doing there, and
It's a
yeah, I really
lot.
appreciate that.
I tell you, this is the first time in my lifetime that when you Googled how do I form a union, it came up on the Department of Labor website. Some of the steps to forming a union. I don't want to seem, no administration is perfect, but this Biden Harris administration has at least seeded the ability for unions to grow if they will.
Right.
Tennessee now is becoming a hub for automotive manufacturing. But most folks come to Tennessee because, we are a business friendly state that has
Mm.
very low union density. We have the opportunity to change that. We have 5 labor councils in the state. We are actively trying to look for and recruit folks that want to organize either in their communities, in their faith institutions, or in the union, and we're putting them to work because we got a lot of work to do.
Heck yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. I think there are opportunities here. Um, we have a friendlier labor board than we've had, and yeah, in our lifetimes for sure. And there are other opportunities as well with industry coming to the South. And as you said, it's for a reason they come to the South because of our quote unquote business climate, which is translated as anti-union, anti-worker, anti-environment, right?
Hmm.
Anti-regulation, anti-tax, all that comes with that. Um, but it's a leverage point when, especially when there's federal dollars attached. That gives us leverage to organize, and we should be doing that organizing because we can't let the South be this refuge anymore for poor labor practices. We can't let the South, remain as a refuge for union busting and for low wages and poor infrastructure for our people. We can do better, and there's clearly there's that popular support now, uh, and the people are behind us, I believe, and so it's that opportunity if we can take advantage of it, and so. Um, we've talked obviously about this in terms of explaining why they're important and what labor councils do. But if you've got a local union in the area and they haven't yet joined their council, what's your message to them? Because they're going to ask about the money now. They want to know about those per cap fees, and they want to be able to come to their members and say this is a good investment. It's worth our local, whatever union we're part of, to join in with our regional labor council.
Yeah, often in the labor movement we talk about being stronger together. But labor councils provide that connective glue, that connective tissue that helps to build support beyond whatever the confines of our local union memberships are. And so it's a it's a win-win proposition in your fights, but also in your relationships and your ability to train. We have trainings. We have a training called Rabble Rousers, where we train people to be good internal organizers. Um, and there are so many other relationships that are important to having a robust labor movement. And, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so I think this is a moment where everybody should get together, put our heads together, and figure out how we can grow our movement in ways that we couldn't really even imagine 5, 10 years ago.
Right, right, absolutely. And, something else I'll say on that is that it's an opportunity for more people to get involved, right? Because as you have a council, well, the council is going to have its own committees, its own spots available, right? And own volunteer needs. And that's an opportunity, especially if you have members who do have this interest in the movement as a whole. They're interested in what other unions are into, right? I know it's hard to kind of when you have an activated member, you want them to do everything for the local, but you got to share, right? You got to share those talents and those young people, whether they're young to the movement or, young in life, whatever the situation may be. But as you got people who are fired up and passionate, um, the Labor
So,
Council is a good opportunity for them.
it is. I have been a part of local union leadership. I held elected office for 10 years. And one of the things that I saw was that sometimes people become comfortable in their own positions and they don't want to create all this trained, powerful, because you never know where people are going to use their power.
Mm,
And so I think that sometimes there's a mindset that this might threaten their own power. But I think that power is not something that needs to be controlled. Power is something that we should build for working families to be able to accomplish all the things that they desire. And, corporations are not people, but their dollars have made for people, I mean, money power. And so the only way that we can compete with the money is that if we train people to their maximum ability and have everybody working to build our movement. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I know what happens sometimes. Um, but I think that, again, this is a very special moment. And we can't worry about if I work myself out of a job, then I've done a good job, I believe.
right, right, absolutely. And again, that's why I respect about you and your leadership and having that approach because there are those generational tensions. There are those tensions with, like you said, folks who have been in leadership for a while, and um, sometimes they do get uncomfortable with new blood, so to speak.
Yes,
But that's where that dialogue is important. We got to have dialogue that's intergenerational, that's inter experience, like the young fired up person who's brand new,
yes.
and the quote unquote old head who's been there for a while and has seen some stuff. They have to talk, and we have to facilitate those conversations, and because that's how we're going to learn and grow as a movement. And so, yeah, really, just I appreciate your approach there and your message there. And I just wanted to ask, I mean, if you had any final words to union members or to community allies, about labor councils or anything else, frankly.
Well, I see the labor movement changing and changing in very positive ways. This is not your grandfather's union. And it's a place where everyone, no matter what your race, gender, sexual orientation, religious preference, there is a place in the labor movement for you to help you to work collectively to build power in your workplace and your community. I think that building the union movement also will help us in the challenges that we're seeing to our democracy right now. Unions are small d. We exercise small d democracy every day. Nothing happens because one person says it so. It's about all of us. And so if that small d democracy spills over into larger engagement in our community, we have more folks voting. We have more people participating in the process. I have a good friend in New Jersey, Charlie Volcanic. They've elected over 1,000 union members to office.
Wow.
Those are the things that we aspire for, because we don't have to continue to convince people that are union members that are elected what the best thing is for working people. They carry that with them. And so, yeah, Charlie Volcanic is one of my heroes. And I think that we should all aspire to make sure that our members are embedded in every aspect of our community.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to just grow our power and build our power because, like you said, people power is what we have. We don't have the big money. You know, the bosses and politicians have a lot that they can use against us, but when we unite and we unite across our diversity and use our diversity as our strength, um,
Yeah.
there's a lot that we can accomplish together. And so, whether it's electing better folks to office or getting better policies enacted by the folks in office, winning new contracts, improving wages, improving benefits, improving the lives and conditions of regular people, it's huge. And so it's a big opportunity, big moment. And Vonda, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Our tag for Labor Day weekend 2023 is that life is better with a union. And I believe that's true. And so we just got to go out there and every day and try to bring more folks into our fold.
Absolutely. Well, Vonda, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work in Nashville.
Thank you, Adam. Have a happy Labor Day.
You too. All right, folks. So that was Vonda McDaniel with Nashville Labor Council. Again, I can't emphasize enough, join your labor council. If your union's not part of a labor council yet, bring that up at the next meeting. If your union is part of a labor council, do you know who your delegates are? Are they involved in the council? Um, Labor councils are just, for me, something that I think is a really huge asset that we have that we've got to tap into as a movement. And there's a lot more we can be doing with them. Definitely excited to grow the North Alabama Labor Council and see what we can accomplish in the year ahead. And um, anyone local, if you're at all interested, if you're a union member or you're just a community ally and you'd like to see the labor movement grow stronger, definitely reach out to us to see how we can work together and grow the North Alabama Labor Council to be bigger, badder, stronger, and more powerful. And so, with that, I am going to wrap up today. I do want to share some of the really cool events that Labor Notes has going on in the weeks ahead. If you haven't already, do bookmark it in your calendar that the Labor Notes Conference is going to be April 21st. That's April 19th through 21st of 2024. Got a chance to go to the Labor Notes Conference in 2022. It was just a really amazing time with some really amazing people. Learned a lot, met great folks. It's definitely worth it if you can make it. But Labor Notes does have a lot of online trainings in September that, you don't have to travel to. You can do from home. The Stewards Workshop is called Dealing with Difficult Supervisors, and that's going to be on September 26th. Chances are many of you can relate to that. But I will say this one is geared towards stewards and elected officers. So if you're not in that position yet, it's not necessarily for you. But if you're interested in serving in that capacity, it could be a useful training for you. We just spoke with Vonda from Nashville, right up I-65. Well, a few hours east of us in Atlanta, they are having a Secrets of a Successful Organizer workshop in person, and that's September 16th. So definitely check that out, all my Georgia brothers and sisters. If you cannot attend the Secrets of a Successful Organizer training in Atlanta in person, it is being offered online this month. It is a Thursday night workshop. It'll be running on the 14th, 21st, and 28th. They do ask that you attend all three workshops in the series. But again, I recommend it every month. I recommend it all the time because it really is worth doing. If you've never done this training with Labor Notes, highly recommend it. If you want to learn more about how to get organized and how to do organizing on the job, Or even if you're a community organizer, a political organizer, there's still some skills and tips that you could learn from. And the last one is what to do when your union breaks your heart. That's going to be offered on September 5th. I've spoken with Ellen David Freeman on the show on Shop Talk before about this workshop. It's a really good one. Definitely recommend you check that out. And that is it for Shop Talk today. I hope it was worth your time and really appreciate everyone listening. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your network and make sure that you're plugged into our work at tvlr.fm. Just a reminder that the Valley Labor Report is a working class media collective dedicated to lifting up labor struggles throughout Alabama and across the South. We bring you Alabama's only union talk radio show every Saturday morning, with the first half from 9:30 to 11 a.m. live on FM radio through WVNN here in the Huntsville listening area. The entire program is online via Facebook, YouTube, and podcast, and portions of the program are replayed on WZZA in the Shoals and WHIV out of New Orleans. So definitely do check out our website, tvlr.fm. You can check out our merch at tvlr.fm/store. And of course, you can donate at tvlr.fm/donate. Our single biggest source of contributions comes from listener donations. So if you can spare a couple bucks, we really do appreciate it. But whether you donate, share, subscribe, or just listen, we do appreciate your support, and we can't do it without you. So if you share our mission to grow the Southern labor movement, if you share our belief in the power of solidarity and collective organization, if you want media that is for working people, by working people, please consider becoming a recurring donor at tvlr.fm/donate. All power to the workers. Solidarity, y'all.